Juicy Smoulier here, and this Lil Tecca We Love You Tecca album was worse than Hurricane Dorian. Lil Tecca, unfortunately, is another melodic auto-crooner riding off the coattails of people like Speaker Knockers, rapping about the same old, pretty generic shit that we've seen over some bouncy trap beats. I mean, I'm not kidding, that is literally the extent of this album. And I know I'm gonna come off like a snob for saying that, but if you try to make me believe this thing is anything more than that, stop! The track Ransom I do think is a highlight off of this album, and it's probably what got a lot of people introduced to Lil Tecca. I gotta admit, the bounciness, the catchiness, and how instant Ransom actually starts, how it kind of reminds me of a similar cadence that The Dream used back off his I Love Your Girl feature from Young Jeezy. And again, that may only just be me that hears that cadence influence. I barely hear it, it's so faint, but it's there. But I say that to say the blow up of Ransom is much more due to its 2-minute duration and the lack of overall time you have to spend on it for it to get started. With We Love You Tecca, it definitely feels like one of those albums that was made to capitalize off of the traction that a hit single had received, but upon completion of said album, you realize how much of a fluke that actual traction from the single must have been. And even though Ransom is what introduced a lot of people to Lil Tecca, I'm sure that people stayed because of his Genius interview where he goes over all these lines, being incredibly transparent and honest about what he actually meant in writing them and saying them and how none of them were actually true. His honesty after his admission of him capping basically the entire time probably made him come off as a more refreshing artist, made you think that he didn't take himself or what he was saying nearly as seriously as his songs may have implied. And I gotta agree, having someone take the piss out of rapping that's supposed to awkwardly intimidate or impress the listener is funny. But it's always in hindsight when it comes to someone like Lil Tecca. He's not actually acknowledging his lies and his deception in the songs that he's making, so he ends up doing what everyone else does, further saturating and devaluing it. Knowing it's a lie doesn't make it better. The times on this album where he's trying to delve a little bit deeper, and I mean just a centimeter below the surface, he ends up coming off like a worse version of A Boogie over a YouTube searched Juice WRLD type beat. The flows, vocal rhythms, and harmonies are generally so lifeless on this project. Some of the more egregious and offensive lines on this album come on tracks like Count Me Out, where he's giving reference to Speaker Knockers by saying la-di-da-di-da, you mad or nah. Like, I get that he's paying homage on this track, but it's like, how do you pay homage to a dead man style who you're biting? Throw that to the side, despite having massively successful examples to copy and steal from, he still manages to trickle off beat. And because he refuses to change his subject matter and approach the instrumentals in a slightly different direction, he ends up making the same song 17 times. Even at 40 minutes, this thing still manages to drag on. And I can understand some people finding the value in an artist like Lil Tecca doing what he's doing if he was rapping in a more interesting way, had a bit more of a vibrant delivery, maybe had something more funny or interesting to talk about, or wasn't rapping over a style of instrumental that had been seen more times in a private Snapchat. But he's literally the embodiment of everything that we've already seen and heard, and I don't see what he's bringing new to the table. I see people even saying that he's got a ton of potential. I don't see where. And I know this entire video is gonna come off like me hating. I love the fact that this is a young black kid making it, doing whatever he wants to do, and making a lot of money. I love that. But when it comes to saturating and devaluing this market with the same material that we've been flooded with for the past 5 years or so, I just don't see potential in that. I see leeching. I don't want to go too far into this album and overanalyze it to a point where it becomes something that it wasn't trying to be in the first place, but for what it is, it's still not good. It's still bad. It's still trash. You can skip this one if you want, because I don't see it. All right, I like Ransom, and that's it. Thank you for watching. I'll see y'all next time. I'll be here and there and everywhere else. And yeah, it's been fun. Bye.